Take that as a time to start and call this meeting to order. So welcome everyone. I think everybody's here, but I'm just do a quick roll call out there. Director Stauffer, I see you're here. You announced. Thank you.
Yes.
Director Pickens.
Hi, good evening.
All right. Director Jeffries.
Good evening.
All right. Director Koo.
Good evening, sir.
All right. And Director Gibson, I think, is here. Yep. Sounds like it. All right. Very good. Well, welcome everybody to the October the 19th, middle of October already, meeting. And if you could all join me in stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. All right, thank you. So again, we are still under protocols for virtual meetings. So with that said, public comments taken written at this time. If you're joining us, please make sure that you are muted and videos disabled. That's for all of us. If you're not speaking, it helps keep the background noise and the access stronger. And also just a reminder that this meeting is recorded. And with that said, so Director Kuhn, read our vision and mission statement for us.
You got it. Vision of the Sequim School District: our community inspires and prepares each student to thrive. Our mission, in connection with our community, the Sequim School District empowers staff to inspire hope and provide flexible, innovative learning opportunities in a safe and respectful environment so each student thrives.
Okay, wonderful. Well, we have a special presentation and special guest with us today for the acknowledgement of our tribal land, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Clark at this time.
Thank you, Director Gibson. We're a little bit quicker than I thought we might be. I told Loni and Theresa to be here at 6:10. I didn't see them logged in.
Okay.
Are Loni, Theresa, are you logged in? Okay, that's, I told them, they are? They need to unmute.
Yeah, I do see Loni.
Okay.
How about now? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, and I apologize. Everything happened a little bit quicker than I thought it would. Is Theresa with you?
She is not with me, but she should be logging on here shortly.
Okay.
We could, if we want to wait a couple of minutes, we could always.
I could read the national principle thing. We'll move forward with that.
That sounds perfect. That sounds perfect. And hi, thanks for joining us, Loni. All right.
Okay, this is National Principles Month. And as it is, Governor Inslee has done a proclamation, and it gives me great pleasure to read this. Whereas principals create hope for each and every student in their buildings by leading culture, systems, and learning, and whereas principals work tirelessly each day as visionaries, assessment experts, community builders, public relations experts, budget analysts, facility managers, special programs administrators, and guardians of various legal, contractual, and policy mandates and initiatives. Whereas principals work collaboratively with both teachers and district officials to develop and maintain high curriculum standards, develop mission statements, and set performance goals and objectives for schools to achieve educational excellence. And whereas the Association of Washington School Principals, AWSP, honors such exemplary principals who have succeeded in providing high-quality learning opportunities for students, as well as their exemplary contributions to the profession. And whereas Principals Month gives an opportunity to honor and recognize the contribution of all school principals and assistant principals to the success of each and every student in Washington schools, our most valuable resource. Now, therefore, I, Jay Inslee, Governor of the State of Washington, do hereby proclaim October 2020 as Principals Month. Is there anything below that, Tracy? You got to scroll up. In Washington, could you scroll up, please, Tracy? Oh, in Washington, and I encourage all people in our state to join me in this special observance. Signed this 30th day of September 2020, Governor Jay Inslee. And it goes without saying that our principals, Mark Harris at the middle school, Donna Hudson at Gray Wolf, Sean Langston at the high school, Vince Riccabini at OPA, SOS, and DVS, Becky Stanton at Helen Haller, Candace Ward, assistant principal at the middle school, assistant principal at the high school, Christy Queen, and assistant principal at Gray Wolf, Jennifer Lopez, all do a great job and have the kids of the SQUIM community and the SQUIM school district in all of their thoughts and actions. Thank you very much for all the work you do.
All right, thank you for that. And yes, we do appreciate our principals out there and the work that they do. We have
now
Theresa with us yet?
Is
No?
Theresa with us? I'm gonna look one more time.
I don't see her number on there.
Yeah,
She-
I don't.
Loni.
Oh, yes.
This is Theresa.
Hey,
I,
all right.
Yes.
I'm here. I'm calling from my phone. I couldn't zoom in on the video at all.
Okay.
Glad you're here, Theresa.
Yeah, it's nice hearing your lovely voice. And good evening to everybody there.
Well, I would like to say that it gives me great pleasure to introduce Loni Greninger, Vice Chair of the Tribal Council, and Theresa Lehman, the Treasurer of the Tribal Council, as we begin our recognition of where we are hosted at and the Jamestown Tribal Land Acknowledgement. I would ask Loni to say a few words, and then for her, the very first time, to acknowledge what we're going to say before every board meeting henceforward. Loni,
Absolutely.
it's all yours.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Well, Ait Tongan, Stjayachach, good evening, our friends and relatives. It is such an honor to be here to represent Jamestown and for Theresa and I to witness this really, really amazing moment, really in local history, in tribal relationships with our school district. And it's been a journey for a couple of years. I think 2 years ago, I want to say it was 2 years ago, we endeavored to actually establish our first memorandum of understanding together. And so this just feels like a very natural next step in our relationship with the district. And we're very honored for the district to honor our heritage, honor our history, and acknowledge the land that we stand on. So very appreciative of everyone who's here tonight to witness this and hear it, and just very grateful to the district for this next step. I also want to give Theresa Lehman a couple of moments to share her heart as well.
Good evening, and thank you for this honor and inviting the tribe. Yes, as Loni says, this really is a historical moment. I have sat on the education committee for almost 30 plus years, and several years ago, I noticed that the Crescent School District was recognizing our tribe more and more, and that we have worked together so that you and our community are stronger in their relationships. And I really appreciate it. I appreciate all the work that the teachers have done to educate our students. They have been so successful and gone on to college, and they've brought what they've learned. A lot of them have said what they learned from their teachers, brought it back to our community or other communities, and I really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Great, and with that, we will go ahead and read this statement. We acknowledge the land we stand on. The Sequim School District administrative and school buildings sit on the ancestral land of the Nuskayam, or the Sklallam people. While the Sklallam traditionally come from one nation, history has led to the formation of 3 sovereign Sklallam tribal governments. The Lower Elwha Sklallam tribe, Ethwa Nuskayam, located in Port Angeles, Washington. Jamestown Sklallam, Statithlam Nuskayam, located in Sequim, Washington. And Port Gamble Sklallam, Nuhkayet Nuskayam, located in Kingston, Washington. The district's primary partnership is with the Jamestown Sklallam tribe. Today, the tribe and district share a partnership that includes official consultation on program and funding changes that may directly affect American Indian and Alaska Native students, as well as holistic service planning for students to remain successful in their educational journeys. Manu'ait, Hotningson.
Hotninson.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Loni.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing us to be the first to read this. This is good. It's so good. Manu'ait is how we say it. Very good.
Say that one more time, please.
Sure. Manu'ait.
Mon-ite.
Manu'ait.
Loni, would you ask them if we're going to get a copy so we can have it framed to put in at our travel center?
Ooh, that would be great. Could we get a copy of this? Actually, I have the emailed copy, so we already have it. I will go ahead and take that on, Theresa.
That would be great, because it's something that, you know, that for years from now, our tribe will look at it, and our ancestors and our future students will look at it and appreciate the relationship we've had with the Sequim School District. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, Loni, this, hang on. I'm going to go to camera here. This is President Gibson here, and we're just pleased that you were both able to make it tonight. And from the board, this is an honor to have passed this resolution, to be able to do this at each board meeting. I know it means a lot to the tribe, and it means a lot to us on the board and to the community, and the relationship that we've developed within this area and this community for years, and it continues to grow. So again, thank you so much. And we would also, I know you have a copy of that, but we would also just like to get a copy and get that framed and prepared and sent to, for you from the board. So we will work on that piece and for it. And again, it's a deep honor to have you here to read this for the first time today. We really appreciate it from the board and from the district. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Have a great evening. Thank you again.
All right. Well, how do we top that for the rest of the night? Wonderful.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye, Loni.
Bye.
All right. Well, again, that was an honor, and but the business, I guess, must go on. So we'll have to move on from that. Appreciate their attendance this evening and having them read that for us for the first time. Okay, next up, we move on to some business. So here we are. We've got approval of both our October 5th and our regular meeting and our October 14th policy workshop. So if we could get a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. Next up, we have any changes or updates to our agenda?
There are none.
All right, hearing no changes, motion to approve.
Move to approve.
I make
as
a motion to
presented.
approve.
Second.
Or second.
All right, we've got a motion. I think Director Koo jumped in there in a couple of seconds from some other board member. Okay, any discussion on that? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign? Okay, next up, we have our consent agenda. Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do I have a
I'll
second?
second. Yeah.
All right, we have a motion and a
Yeah,
second. Okay, any discussion on the consent agenda? All right, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. Okay, so next up, we would have public comments. We had no public comments specifically come in for the meeting. So again, if you have direct public comments, you can send them to T. Norman at Tracy at squimschools.org or to the school board at squimschools.org. All right, next up, we have our student representatives and their presentations. So Senior Representative Olivia Preston, you are up.
Hello. Right, so I have a big report this week. So SMS would like to share that they are getting ready for hybrid learning students that are to be on campus all day. As they told families at the beginning of this year, their staff will continue teaching remotely from 11:15 to 1:15 for the feasible future for all students not yet back on campus, regardless of reason, and for the hybrid group not on campus that day. They paid careful attention to the elementary invitations for return to campus and have made contact and adjustments to keep family units together. Their staff, while apprehensive around performance, are excited to get to see a part of student faces and will continue to teach as they have been discussing in their building with a repeat AM in-person and PM live team pattern of instruction. They will have to use both our small gym and cafeteria to safely space our students for morning meals. Students will attend 3 in-person sessions each day between 8:15 and 10:45. At 10:45, as staff go to have their lunch and prepare for remote learning at 11:15. Students that choose to stay with us until bus transportation can take them home will be cohorted in separate spaces. Once in their space, each cohort cycle through a quote-unquote lunch recess personal time, blocked to get ready for astronomical learning through the remainder of the day. The group will also take an afternoon break to walk the track with the cohort. While working in the cohorts, our office and para team will be working to support students as they access electronic learning. As staff continue to adapt and get their new feet underneath them, we hope this will give some opportunities for individualized or small group support from instructional staff. SHS would like to share they are happy to have some students back on campus and the first week went well. A recent OSPI publication highlighted Bill McFarland in the SHS FFA chapter for completing their yearly documentation well before their required deadline. Way to go, FFA. to share they kicked off in-person instruction last week, and it was amazing. Students were learning in classrooms, staff were supporting students, and dare I say, it felt like a quote-unquote normal school. A huge shout out to the OPA community for making this epic moment come true. SOS would like to share, just like OPA and SOS welcome students back this week. Mr. Thorson has done a marvelous job of connecting with our students, striving to keep them engaged and on the path to graduation. Thanks, Taylor. SOS is lucky to have you. Shh, can you hear? It's the sound of silence in our classroom and shops. Normally, our classrooms and shops are buzzing with sounds of machines, tools, and other chatter of fully engaged students. The CTE department and our students truly miss the sounds of our classroom. Fortunately, our auto shop and welding teachers are working on a hybrid plan, which would bring small groups of students. More to come soon. Lastly, a special shout out goes to Ms. Detlefson and parents. Thanks to them, the SHS community regularly receives the GNM and up to go Wolves. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Olivia. And I understand you have to go to a special dinner, and we would like to wish you from the board a happy belated birthday.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, enjoy your dinner this evening, and thanks so much for your very distinct presentation tonight. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Okay. Next up, we have our junior representative, Alyssa Beeby. You are up.
Thank you. I hope everyone had a wonderful start of the week. Helen Haller says that they are doing the survey Return to School for the parents. The Scholastic Book Fair is going to be online this year, and every purchase is going for the school. The teachers are working hard to make the school ground available for their kids. Grey Wolf Elementary says that the parents and students have to provide a daily health attestation wellness check through Skyward before the students arrive at school. Grab-and-go lunches are available for children ages 2 to 18 on Mondays and Wednesdays between 11 and 12:30 at Grey Wolf or Squee Middle School. Dungeness Virtual School says that students are engaged in making virtual progress. The staff, Mr. Zarelli and Ms. Harner, are in constant communication with students and families, monitoring their progress. We're very proud to be part of the newest school in the Squim School District. A special shout out goes to Maria Roragan and Kayana Harrison for their countless hours of behind the scenes support. Thank you.
All right, Alyssa, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Okay. Next up, we have our regular board communication. We will start with Director Koo.
All right, thank you, sir. Just wanted to say thank you to all of those who have emailed their thoughtful comments to our school board, our board and staff regarding our reopening plans, which we'll be discussing tonight, and just encourage you to continue to do so. And then without just repeating the obvious, that was an absolutely special kickoff to the statement as far as doing our business on historically native lands and the significance of that. And I think it's Director Jeffries who advanced that for consideration. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for making that happen tonight. That was very special. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Director Jeffries.
Thank you, Director Koo. I'm not sure I pushed that forward, but I'm fully in support of that, and I think it's very important that we remember to acknowledge the tribal land that we work from at every meeting. I think it's very, very special. Let's put it that way. I'd like to welcome everybody that's online listening to us. Great. I think that's fantastic. And a special thanks for the students for their reports. And I look forward to those each meeting. Soup with the superintendent this last Wednesday went pretty well. I enjoyed that very much. Nice little half-hour session that we might hear more about later on. Also appreciate very much, I saw a message to the staff from our HR director, and Victoria mentioned mask wearing, the different kind of masks, and I think it's very important to remind people of mask etiquette, mask science. It's real easy, evidently, to get COVID fatigue in maintaining our efforts to keep everyone safe. Later on, we're going to be talking about the SQUIM Education Foundation grant. It's really exciting news. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be getting some good news as to that we were awarded some money to further our one-on-one program, which is basically buying the school laptops that they can loan to kids so they can have one-to-one and bring them back and forth from home to school. So I'm looking forward to that. And again, kudos to the principals. I know how important the principals are to the running and the culture of the school. So good job on them. And that's about it. I'm looking forward to the discussion tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Director Stoffer.
Yes, hi, good evening, and I'd also like to welcome the community that's joining us tonight, and appreciation to all those letters, and I especially enjoyed, I think we got a couple from some students, a middle school student especially, and that was very much appreciated to hear that voice. Today, I witnessed the Mills program roll out, because a spot here where I live is one of the areas, and I was up a ladder at the time hanging those Halloween lights, and looked over, and one of our staff members was there. So very appreciative of that, hitting all of our communities. Tonight on the other channel is our regional meeting, but that's a little hard to join in on that. But there is an opportunity next Monday as Director Area 7 and 8, and colleagues here can join that for free and catch up there. And I will get that link that has Alyssa speaking on the video, and then we'll hopefully have it for the next meeting. Thank you to our principals who, yes, do that good work out there in each of the buildings. I was at that soup with the soup also. I recommend the Tom Kai soup next time for the superintendent. And I also appreciated the athletic rollout, the pictures or the PowerPoint of how our sports and athletics will, and I believe we all got that PowerPoint. And from there, thank you very much. Looking forward to the discussions on the back to school program or reopening program. And then also shout out to Tracy on the policy work. Thank you.
Okay, Director Pickens. And I'll come back to you there, Director Q. I see your hand.
Hi, good evening. Just again to acknowledge what my other board colleagues have already mentioned. I'm very much happy to that we were able to acknowledge the land that we're meeting on. I think that's very important, and as well as our principals who play a critical role to those students that we serve every day. So I'm happy to acknowledge them. And I'm very happy to hear the reports of students back in buildings slowly and safely. And want to just to make sure that we're not losing sight of keeping safety at the forefront of everything that we do, given these the circumstances that we're in. But I'm definitely happy to hear that we can cautiously move that forward, and I'm looking forward to the further discussion that we're going to have on that topic. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Before I go, Director Koo, did you have something to add?
Sure. Appreciate that. Just wanted to note, Director Pickens was actually the one who advanced the idea of recognition of ancestral land. So I know we're all in support of it, but just wanted to give a due shout out for bringing that forward.
Easy one that we're all in support of, but thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess the only downside of this evening is I wish this would have been something we could have done all in person, but you know, we wanted to make sure that this was done, and you know, finding the time. So you know, it's just a pleasure to be part of that. Just again, kind of acknowledging what some of my other board members have said. You know, receiving some different feedback from parents and teachers and some students over the last few weeks regarding what we'll be discussing here later as far as our reopening plans. And, you know, yes, it has been kind of nice to hear some of the stories of some of the kids back in school right now, and some pictures floating around social media of first physical day back and all. So just like my fellow board members, looking forward to that discussion later. And with that said, let's move on to our next topic. So next up, we have our finance and enrollment report. Darlene.
All right. Well, as you know, I'm in the process of closing out the 1920 school year. And so there's a lot of work that goes into that, and I will have my F-196 to the ESD by Monday, the 26th of October. They'll look over it, any changes that I'll need to make, I'll have to make, and then back to them and to OSPI all within like a week or two time period. So working hard on that. And so with that said, budget status reports for September, the start of our new school year 2021, our estimates until I close the fiscal year of 2019-20. And so that's why that's written on the bottom. And the reason it's an estimate is that we're still making sure that we have accounted for all of the expenditures that would be, tagged as our local levy dollars, you know, being part of what has paid for some of our expenditures and some other things, and that all goes in the F-196. So that takes a little bit of time and a little bit of work. So that's why it looks like that. So budget status report for general fund. Our total ending fund balance after everything is said and done is $2,236,626. And so just to point out, even though it's the beginning of the school year, on expenditures, when it shows that it's at 81.61%, you know, of our budget is expended already, it's because we have encumbered all of our payroll and benefits for the entire school year. And so that every year as payroll is completed, those encumbrances are taken off. So that's why that looks like that. Most of our, as you know, at least 80 to 82% of our expenditures for school year are salaries and benefits. So that's why that looks like that. Also in the process of closing the 1920 school year and opening the 2021 school year, on the second page of the general fund budget status report, you can see the GL accounts, doing journal entries for those. And so the only one that is not updated is the carryover amount, and that's because I have been waiting for a couple of numbers from a couple of different departments, and then that will be updated. So everything else up on here is updated. We will be doing our last payment on our capital projects for the kitchen, and so $15,768 will come from the general fund, and that's the interest portion of that payment, and that has to be paid from the general fund. And then the $500,000 is what was budgeted to pay for any capital projects, things that might come up that we would need to use our general fund for. So one of those things right now could be like the Gray Wolf sewer system. And so we know it's not just the hookup to the county sewer system, but most of the expense comes from the work that has to be done to do the hookup. And so it could come out of that. That's just one of those things. I left this like this. I wanted to show you the unassigned fund balance. That's just the day-to-day operation. Like the amount in there would be for if anything came up extra. And you can see that it's in the negative. I did that because I upped the minimum fund balance to 4.6% of this year's budgeted expenditures. And you can see that's what it does to it at this point. It puts it into the negative. Now, this doesn't affect anything. It's just more of a picture of what things would look like if we kept that 4.6% in the minimum fund balance. But more than that, it won't stay like that because September, when we get our apportionment, a lot of our programs aren't being funded yet. So a lot of our grants our grant claims haven't come in for September yet. That doesn't happen until I claim them this month. So if you look at the apportionment report, you can see it's really a short page. And so you can see that's why these are estimates, because a lot of our programs we haven't started receiving apportionment yet for those. So I just left it like that because it won't look like that next month. Capital projects, you can see that we have an ending fund balance of $1,047,985. A reminder that our last payment comes from capital projects fund. It's put into debt service fund to make that last payment in December, and that last payment is $1.762 million. And so as we receive our levy dollars in October, November, that will be what pays for that last very large payment. Debt service fund, it's just got that same $69,000 in it. It's just accruing a little bit of interest right now until we make that big last payment. And ASB fund, you can see it's sitting mostly just dormant right now until we get our students back in school and we can start up all of our ASB activities again. Transportation vehicle fund, it's got $628,376 in it, and that is sitting there, and I did budget for us to be able to purchase a few buses if we needed to do that. As they fall off the depreciation schedule, then this would be the fund that we use to purchase those new buses. Okay, any questions on the budget status reports? All right, then I'm going to move on.
This is Larry Jeffries.
Yeah. Hi, Larry.
One question, Darlene. How much does a new bus cost?
Well, it depends on what size bus and how many like special items we need to have built onto the bus. But I would say $125,000 would be, a normal cost of a bus. And so it depends. If it's a smaller bus, it might be closer to $90,000. Depends on if it's made special for, some special needs that might have to be put into the bus to transport students. But yeah, somewhere right around there. $125,000 a bus.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, I'll move on to enrollment. So Dr. Clark asked that we do a spreadsheet that shows maybe a comparison over 3 years of enrollment. So Tracy was kind enough to put together just a graph, more like a chart of 1819, 1920, and 2021 school years. And then I built onto the graph and put it more in so you could see what it looks like in like a different type of comparison. So you can see the different colors. The darker blue is 1819, gray is 1920, and the lighter blue is 2021. So you can see, let's see, there's another one. There's a bar graph that actually puts things, puts the numbers at the top so you can kind of see how each year compares. And it would be September is one graph and October is another graph. So hopefully you guys got those so that you can look through those. And I know that the numbers are a tiny bit different than what I first built the graphs from, because Tracy was able to do some updating on her enrollment numbers. We'll just keep track of that. I don't know if you can see the bar graph on there anywhere, Tracy. Like for October, there's a, rather than the line graph. It was, if you scroll.
Hi, Darlene, I'm so sorry. Only I saw the line graphs and didn't look any farther.
Oh, okay. All right. So hopefully everybody got those, but if not, I've got those and I can send them out to you. But there's a bar graph and a line graph for September enrollment for the last 3 years, and well, 2 years and this year, and same with October, so that you can look at what our enrollment is doing. And then the very last thing, and I'm not sure that Tracy got this because I just built a new revenue and expenditure spreadsheet. And
hey, Darlene,
yeah, sure, yeah.
I think we have a couple questions before we move on to the next thing.
Sorry.
And probably around, so are we looking at, is that saying that we're like 220 students down in enrollment?
That is saying that, yeah, when you're looking at your FTE at the bottom, and let's just say October of 1920 was at 2685.
Mm-hmm.
October of 2021 is at 2465. Yeah. Yep.
Well, okay. Director Pickens, did you have something else?
Yeah, just a question about the graph that you showed. Do each on the graph, does each dot represent, are those grade levels that each one would represent?
Yeah, I should have mentioned that. I'm so sorry.
No
yeah, so when you start with the first dot, it's kindergarten, then first, second, and all the way up. So you're right, it is each grade level.
Okay.
And this was quickly built to date. I'm sorry, I was had a little bit of surgery done on my facial skin today, and I was building these while I was at home with half my face numb.
Well, I hope you're feeling better.
Yeah, thanks. No, I've got a few stitches and I have a Band-Aid on my face, but I'm good. Yeah, thanks.
All right. Thank you for clarifying that. Thanks.
Yeah.
Tracy, could you go back to that bar graph, please?
Yep.
Just to be clear, we are, it doesn't have it on this graph. When you see the numbers for 2021 in October that say 2464, we budgeted at 2598. So while you are correct,
gotcha,
we're down from last year, we aren't down as much as from where we budgeted.
Got it.
Yeah, and also on here, just a reminder, because I didn't have those numbers with me, is that we don't have OPA and DVS. I'm not sure that we have those numbers in here. Do we, Tracy?
Yeah, they should be included.
Yeah.
What's not in here, I don't think that I separated out, was Running Start.
Okay, yeah. So next month it'll be a little bit sharper and a little bit clearer, and there'll be more information on it. But this was just a starting point so that you can just see a comparison.
Okay, thanks. And I think Director Stauffer has something.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes. Do we have the our typical kindergarten enrollment numbers from the year before? Just trying to look at the graph and keep that in my head of what our typical kindergarten enrollment is.
Well, according to this, like the 18-19, it was 186.5, and then last year 180, and this year it's at 158. So you can see it is down.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you, Darlene.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, and then the very last thing is the revenue and expenditure spreadsheet. And so just putting that together, and how when I was talking about just the amount of revenue that even just comes on apportionment and how it's split out, you can see how many empty things there are right now. September is always like, looks like that. So I just want to remind you that when you look at total revenues for September, if you look at your budget status report and look at the top of it in actual for month, those numbers should be the same. So the 2,784,078.40, those should match. And then when you go down into the expenditure section of the spreadsheet, those expenditures should match the next section on your budget status report under actual for month of 3,880,865.77, and they do. And then when you go down further, you can see revenue and over expenditures, and you can see that there were many more expenditures in September than there were revenues. And so each month we'll see how that goes, and as our apportionment gets full of our grants and things like that, you'll see LAP and title and all the grants that come in. It won't look like this, but that's typical for September. Any questions on that?
I think we're good here. I don't see any hands.
All right. That's it. That's what I have for you.
Okay, thank you so much, Darlene.
You're welcome.
Okay. Next up, we have the choice report, Tracy, in this snazzy looking document you sent out to us.
Well, thank you. This is one of the enrollment things that I do process. I have not worked in a building and been an official registrar. This is the one thing that does come through my office. I kept some of the numbers in from last year because I believe last year was the first time we did it. So these are 177 students that have chosen to attend somewhere else. Last year we had a total of 133, and this is the grade breakdown over here. And another kind of graph of the grade breakdown. As you can see, kindergarten and 6th grade are the highest. And so this is based on the form that the parent turns in. It asks, what is the last school that you attended? So that could have been a homeschool student that started with us in 3rd grade, went to Grey Wolf for a couple years, then choiced out, then came back to the middle school. So this is just this year's numbers. If you were a 5th grader at Grey Wolf last year, sorry, let's back that up. You would be a 6th grader in a middle school. If you're a 2nd grader at Grey Wolf last year, I counted that towards these totals. And again, this is not homeschool. This is just someone who said, I want to go to PA, or I want to do a Washington Virtual Academy or anything like that. So that's a total of 48 students that were with us last year that left to another option. Okay, but the good news is, look at all those kindergartners that came back this year. We opened up choice for our district K-5. That has been kind of frozen since 15-16 unless you were Coast Guard or another category. So we have, last year we had 12 people choice in, and that can be staff. And again, like I said, some of those exceptions to the rules. So we a little over doubled how many kids we brought in this year. So I think that's exciting. So where did they all go? This is a breakdown of what school they chose. We've got the Crescent Home Connections, had our biggest number again this year. Lost a couple, gained a couple on the other areas. And then there's another kind of version of what you just saw. I know this is really small over here. Sorry about that. Oh gosh, and there is one more slide that I added. When you fill out this choice request, they ask you for a reason, and there's multiple that you can choose from. So this is the a breakdown of what folks said on why they choiced out.
I gotta say, this is awesome, Tracy. It's kind of information we've been pondering, I think, in my whole almost 3 years on the board now. This answers a lot of those questions.
Good. Good, good.
Yeah.
I do know that when we got word that DVS was going to be up and running, either last spring or part of this summer, Assistant Superintendent Mon asked me for a list of these folks that had already put their application to go someplace else in. And we called and reached out to those students and said, hey, in case you haven't heard, we've got DVS coming this year. And I am not sure exactly how many students we got back from that, but that was something that did take place when we got DVS up and going.
Oh, very good. All right. I think we got a couple of questions, a couple of hands out there. Director Pickens was first, so floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, I think one of the earlier slides that you showed at the beginning of the presentation showed a big percentage of that as kindergarten, and I just wanted to clarify. But this is just capturing those that go to a different program, not necessarily somebody that just chooses not to enroll their kindergartner in school at all, correct?
Absolutely. They're requesting to leave Sequim School District and attend another district.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
To completely answer that question, it also doesn't account for private school enrollment, does it, Tracy?
It does not.
Thank you.
Okay.
Or homeschool for that matter. That's a different report.
I'm over here saying, Director Jeffries, you're up, and my mic's muted.
Okay, thank you. I know the Crescent Home Connections, is that an online school or is that homeschooling?
I think it's a combination. I don't think it's quite like OPA. Darlene, are you still here? She might be able to speak to that better than I can. Or Dr. Clark, you may as well. I see Darlene.
Yeah, I was under the impression that it was an all online school, but I can't be 100% sure.
I
Well, I
thought
was wondering,
Just to be clear, Darlene, I think you're mostly right. I did think there was some choice in there and that there was some parent partnership. I thought it was a program that was very similar to Pearl in Quilcy, but I talk to Dave Bingham a couple times a week, so I will ask him that question and follow up on it and get that information out to the board.
Well, I was wondering, I've got some neighbors that at least started out, I think still continued with homeschooling, but they indicated it was out of Joyce, but I think they meant Crescent School District. Would it be appropriate for me to talk to them more to find out why them and we don't really have alternative except DVS, is that right?
That is correct. And Crescent and Joyce are one and the same. It's the community
right.
of Joyce Crescent School District.
Anyway, I got the impression early on when I talked to the neighbors like 3 or 4 years ago that they looked around and that was the most user-friendly and provided them with the what they needed for their 2 girls. And again, would it be appropriate for me as a board member to talk to them at 6 foot distance with my mask on, of course, what they liked about it and why they chose it?
I would say yes.
I mean, I'm fully supportive of their decision. I would just like to get some background information and see if there's anything that we're doing or not doing that could improve our situation and be of service to other families like theirs. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Tracy. Really appreciate that. Again, a lot of good information on there that I think we've been kind of asking questions about, and this answered quite a few of them. So really appreciate that. Okay, next up we have Superintendent Report. Dr. Clark, you are up.
Unmute. Just wanted to recognize if you've seen the new 2021 calendar, just want to take the time. It's not really a donation, but I did want to recognize our annual calendar sponsors, and this is put forth by Megan Like, and we're very thankful for the organizations and their contributions and help for the Swim School District. In additional report, actually, many of the board members took away some of my thunder. You know, I had a soup with the soup on Friday to talk about athletics. I'm going to have a soup. We're going to talk about kindergartners coming back this Friday. I want a full disclosure. I'm stealing that Friday noon slot from Marty Brewer. He did a great job doing some of those things, and so I'm gonna try and inform the parent, informally inform the parents and or community members on Friday at noon or other times. I also wanted, you know, we honored or recognized the principals earlier today. And, you know, I also want to say thank you to them for all the work they do and the effort they put forth. These are interesting times, and they are basically, you know, going above and beyond. But I also want to recognize a couple other people, Rich Fulmer, and Heather Niehaus at the bus yard, that bus barn. They're putting together the bus routes, and the bus drivers are taking out food. They're doing a great job. the administrative cabinet of Tracy Norman, Darlene, Victoria, Jennifer Mon are all doing great work. Everyone's working really hard. Dave Ditlefson put together that PowerPoint that I used on Friday, just doing a tremendous job. And we are very fortunate that we have people of this caliber, and I am also very fortunate to work with them. Also want to recognize Jennifer Mon and Hannah McCandy wrote a grant. So we got from the state of Washington $20,000 for our COVID-19 response fund, which will be nice. That is going to be dedicated to our homeless youth. Larry, Director Jeffries mentioned it earlier. Squim Education Foundation has partnered with the school district to apply for a $500,000 grant to OSPI to begin our one-on-one device program, laptops. Kudos to Jennifer Mon and Jody Olson for either writing 100% of the grant or the overwhelming majority of the grant. So kudos to them, and just that is what my report is, and I'm very, very thankful for this work.
All right, wonderful, thank you. And thank you, as Dr. Clark said, to all the staff out there that have helped and participated in putting that together. Really appreciate all that work. Okay, next up, you've got, did we skip over the levy?
No, we haven't got to that. You need to get back to the spreadsheet for
yeah,
the
there you go.
Tracy.
Yeah, I saw that Tracy moved on a little bit. There you go. Okay.
There should be, let's go back to the front page, the previous page before we go to the spreadsheet. I've talked the last two board meetings about our capital projects levy and the projects that go along with that, the major, whether it be putting in, potentially putting in the sewer at Gray Wolf, a new roof at Gray Wolf, some technology issues, renovating the high school science labs, and a new track and some other things. But today I want to talk about the EP&O levy, educational programs and operations levy. Many of you knew this as the M&O levy, and this was passed. The last time we passed a levy was in 2017, and at that time in February of 2017, we passed a 3-year capital projects levy and a 4-year levy. And I'll just very briefly read this. Our EP&O levy is primarily used for costs relating to supporting core learning activities and our ability to offer elective specialist classes that are not supported in our state's basic ed formula. This includes extracurricular, co-curricular activities such as art, drama, music, librarians, nurses, and counselors. The levy also funds areas that are not completely supported by OSPI. These areas include transportation, food service, special education, technology, and additional support staff for our buildings. Our local levy is approximately 16% of our budget. This is what our levy pays for. I'm going to get very specific as time moves on, but think about what we do in our district. It doesn't support some of our enough nurses. We need, Sonia Bittner does a tremendous job. Please I don't want to take anything away from her, but she could use some additional help. Our school district is one of the few districts our size. We have 4 certified librarians in our buildings, and they go, and that says a lot about what we value in education. the music programs and the band program we have, the vocal program we have, those things could not be done without our EP&O levy. It augments our special education program. We have a very large school district geographically. We couldn't make it without the transportation, food service. I've talked to you about our technology deficits and other things. So I want to emphasize that we cannot run this district without an EP&O levy. So now I'll go to the spreadsheet and looking at what the board and I are going to come to grips with about the amount. And I also want to mention that at our November 16th board meeting, John Gores and Corey Plager from D.A. Davidson will be here to, make this presentation and get down into the minutia of the finance. But if you see the area that's currently in gray, those are the last 3 years, 2017, 18, and 19. This is what our student enrollment was. This is what the voters approved. Then you have our EP&O assessed valuation. I wanna be clear about something. You can, and John and Corey will do a better job explaining this than I do, but you can run an EP&O levy for up to $2.50 per $1,000 of assessed valuation, or up to $2,500 per student. And it goes up annually on a basis. So this upcoming year, 2021, we can run it for up to 2604. They have us for 2,710 students. The estimated levy max would be a little bit over 7 million. This is what the voters approved in 2017. Remember that our EP&O levy covers the calendar year of 2021. Remember, levies, any ballot measures cover calendar years, not school years. So we may get a little bit more money from our levy, because this is what the voter approved. This is what the max is. That's going to be dependent upon our enrollment, and OSPI will make that determination. Let's look at how much over the last 4 years, our assessed valuation has grown. It's grown over 8% every year and over 9% in 2019. This 8.21 is estimated. They just got that on Thursday or Friday. So let's look at this. The other thing is, remember, our capital projects levy was for 3 years. We will not be paying a capital projects. We will not have capital projects millage in our taxes for 2021. So our tax rates will go down about 60, somewhere between 60 and 70 cents per thousand. What I'm trying to project, and the figures that I'm working at are looking at an amount that is on or around what we're paying this year, which is a little bit, or which is around $2 per thousand. and I want to keep that rate at, and I don't want our taxpayers to pay more taxes because we will benefit by the increased growth in the total property valuation. But what I'm here to show you is that we're going to be paying on or around the same for the next 3 or 4 years as we have the previous 3 or 4 years. Now, granted, when John and Corey come, they'll explain it in a little bit more financial way, and they'll talk into the minutia of it. But know that I think it's very beneficial that we keep taxes as low as we can for our patrons and do what is what we have continually done over the last several years. I can't say enough about the importance of the EP&O levy and the significance it has for our children in the district. It funds the lifeblood of this district. So I guess I would be prepared to take any questions from any of the board.
Anything else? Any questions from the board? Director Koo?
Yeah, thank you. This is a great breakdown, and I appreciate you providing it, and I want to study it more. Can you remind me again, when is our drop dead to make this determination?
Well, technically December 11th. I'm going to talk. It has to be in the auditor's hand. I'd like it to be a little bit before that, but December 11th is the drop dead date.
Okay, thank you.
Director Jeffries?
Yeah, I know you've got an levy committees running. How's that going? How many people do you have on those committees?
We have about 10, and I'm going to increase that. I've now that we've received our ballots for the 2020 election, excuse me, the November election, presidential election, I'm going to be a little bit more vocal about this, and the committee is also going to be more vocal. Remember, we can't do anything but give factual information. Levy committees outside of this can, do other things, but we cannot do anything other than give factual information. I know I have an interview with the Gazette on Thursday, and I'm going to be talking about this. The reason I have held back is I did not want people to confuse this measure and think it was going to be on the November ballot. So since those who are registered voters should have received their ballots last week, I think it's fine to move forward with these conversations. And myself and the levy committee members and others will be scheduled to meet mostly virtually with community members and community organizations over the next several months.
Director Stoffer?
Yes, thank you, Superintendent Clark, for this breakdown. Very thorough and helpful at digesting through this, and appreciate the work leading up to this. And I think 4 out of 5 of us here have been on those campaign committees here for swim schools, and so we understand the challenge. So just thank you again.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Clark. Okay. Next up, we have the board business. So first up, we have the approval of the revised board calendar.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just to get this going, move to approve as presented.
Mr. Chair,
Yep.
after I realize there's a motion on the floor, but this is in direct relationship to your previous comment, Director Koo. I would like to add a meeting just to discuss the resolution and the ballot measure.
Withdraw the motion.
I did not get this to Tracy soon enough after meeting with Corey and John. They're coming to the November 16th board meeting. And if you see, we only scheduled one meeting in December. So I would like to ask the board, and this board meeting would be one trick pony. It would only be for the resolution and the ballot measure. I would like to have it be November 30th. I'd like to add a board meeting on November 30th. Or we could do December 9th, but that puts, or excuse me, December 7th. That puts two board meetings in 1 week. That's why I would like to go with November 30th.
Move to
Chair,
approve
if
as
it's allowed,
amended.
I recommend adding superintendent's November 30th to this calendar and then approve as presented.
Okay, I think I had two voices out there, so I'll take Director Stauffer's detail there as a motion, and Director Koo, was that a?
Yeah, happy to second.
Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, any further discussion on that? Director Koo?
Yeah, just a quick question, and I'm relieved not to have the privilege of tracking this as the chair anymore, but is this the first time we're approving this year's calendar? And if not, are there any other, oh, there we go. Thanks, Tracy. That was a discreet way to say that. What are the material changes from the previously approved version other than the November 30th calendar?
We went ahead and combined our policy workshop calendar that you had approved previously as well. It just, for website lack of confusion, to just put it all on one seemed easier.
Sounds great. I intend to approve the motion as such.
Yep. Yeah, it looks good to have that all kind of laid out there. That we know it's like, oh, that's what we're showing up for today. All right. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. Next up, we have the approval of the modified 2021 academic calendar.
I would ask the board to approve this. We have removed parent-teacher conferences that were originally scheduled in November, and we also changed Mondays to reflect that there's no professional development on Mondays.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve.
Thank you.
I'll second it, Jeffries.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Thank you, Director Jeffries. Any further discussion, Director Koo?
Yeah, just similar question of thank you for highlighting the details over the previous calendars. The professional development Mondays, I'm assuming that's in reflection of the kind of modified work schedule, if you will. due to COVID. Is that correct? Or were they replaced with different
Yes, yes,
PD days?
that you
Okay.
are.
And then if I may, a follow-up question, have our teaching groups, I guess, ratified, for lack of a better term, or, you know, given the thumbs up on this modification to the calendar?
The principals and I have talked about it. I have not met with the teaching groups. I will say this, we will look to have parent-teacher conferences in the future in, you know, after the first of the year, and they will be, there will be collaboration with the teaching groups.
Great, thank you.
Okay, anything further? Director Jeffries, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna check. Do we need those bargaining unit MOUs or whatever agreement to this, so we pass it and then they agree to it? Or do we wait for them to agree to it and then we pass it?
We pass it.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? Director Pickens.
And not that I foresee any concerns necessarily with this, but traditionally hasn't I know that the academic calendar is typically an item subject to bargaining. So I was just curious why they wouldn't have been, why any the associations wouldn't have been consulted prior to it coming to the board.
We have not removed parent conferences. We just are rescheduling them, and when we reschedule them, they will be consulted.
Thank you.
Okay. With that said, all those in favor of the academic calendar signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Okay. Motion carries. Okay, next up, we have the updated reopening plan timeline.
I hope you've all had a chance to take a look at this. As I've mentioned in a couple of my notes of correspondence to you over the past week, 10 days, I have been having conversations with our staff, mostly principals, some teachers, with many of our parents, and with a few community members. I finally asked a couple community members I feel free to share their feelings or their children's feelings with me and or the board in emails. And I would tell you that the overwhelming response has been to speed up our timelines of returning students back at the K-5 level. We would, this plan does get all of our K-5 students into the buildings in a hybrid model, AA, BB, before Christmas holiday, and actually before Thanksgiving. At this point in time, while we will look at some individual situations, some small cohorts with the 612, we have no major plans to bring them back because of an inability to cohort many of these students. So what the proposal is in front of you today is just ratcheting up, moving up the speeding up the timelines for getting our students back. So I would like to, one of the individuals that I've spent a lot of time talking to about this is Gray Wolf Principal Donna Hudson, and I would like to ask her to speak to this in regards to the pedagogy. And real quick, one of the concerns has always been, how are we going to do this with the number of our students who want to continue to be remotely taught? So here it is. So Donna, could you take a minute and explain to and the feelings, explain to the board?
I'm certainly happy to. Can you hear me?
Yes, we have you, Donna.
Okay. So I would first put this under the umbrella that we certainly at the elementary level have a respect for the way the virus is spread. We have a respect for our staff and student safety. We also try and balance that with the respect for the need of children to be in our schools and receiving the best education we can give them. And so as we started, clear back really in July and August to set a standard or a way that we thought we could carry out instruction, we did that really with the end in mind. We did it understanding that at some point we would get small groups of kids back. At some point we would get larger groups of kids back. And we really hope this year at some point we'll get all of our kids back. And so both Principal Stratton and I have had numerous conversations around what kind of a system we would need to set up. So we took made some decisions really in the summer about how our teachers would teach when we were 100% remote. And we really tried to look at taking, for instance, a first grade classroom and looking at that as one class of 100 kids and dividing the work equitably between the 4 teachers who serve first grade. In doing so, it required all of our teachers to teach fewer lessons. It allows students at Gray Wolf, they may have all 4 teachers recording lessons that they see. But we knew that when we started to bring students back, we had to do something so that our staff could successfully do that. And that's really been the plan moving forward. I feel like you guys had a board meeting, 1 or 2 board meetings ago when you started talking about bringing some students back. And at that time, we started talking to our staff, talking to our grade levels and asking them to start thinking what it might look like when we start reintroducing whole grades of students back. And at this point, I feel very comfortable. Just talked to Principal Stratton, Principal Stanton today about the fact that each of our grade levels has a plan that they're starting to shore up to move forward so that it works at each grade level. We don't have the same needs in kindergarten that we do in 5th grade. And so those decisions really have to be grade level decisions and grade level decisions based on number of staff at the grade levels. And our 2 elementaries are different in that through that filter. So we have a lot of similarities in how our grade levels are looking at bringing back students. And it really is our goal to have happy teachers, teachers who feel like they can do a good job both online and in person. We have excellent curricula in CKLA and Eureka. And so we're looking at taking some of their prepackaged lessons and replacing our teachers' lessons with the Eureka and CKLA lessons to take some of the burden off of our teachers of taping all of the lessons while working, 4 days a week with students. So we've given time and effort to this. We needed to be successful. We need our kids to be back in school. They need to be back in school, but we also need a staff that can do that work and not kind come back to school in July or June or March or January and just not have anything left in their bucket. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of idea of how the elementaries are looking at this. And we're hoping for great things. We bring our kinders back on Monday, and we're very, very happy to do so.
Thank you, Donna.
And I'm happy for questions or clarification if anyone has it, Dr. Clark.
Okay. That's what we have. I would recommend approval of the updated reopening plan.
Right. Looks like we've got a few hands out there with a couple of questions. So Director Pickens, go ahead.
Yeah, and if it's appropriate, but I was just curious if Donna could speak a little bit to how lunch is going to be handled there at maybe at your elementary, but if you know both elementary schools.
Absolutely. So we have a plan in place to serve lunch in the classroom for our students, and we've done that successfully with our initial 50 AB students coming back. At this point, we have our specialists covering lunch, and so they each cover 1 to 2 lunches of the students coming back. When we bring our kinders back, we plan to cover those lunches with paraeducators, and at times office staff, just depending upon indoor, outdoor lunch time. So at this point, I think if you read Victoria's email, our staff are so interested in doing the right things with masks. We have met with each of our staff and have distributed our staff as a whole, I shouldn't say individually, but we've distributed the non-surgical masks to our paraeducators. We distributed the KN94 masks. We have face shields available for all paras and our specialists that supervise kids for lunch. So again, Director Pickens, our goal is to make this a success. And so our staff are working very hard, making good questions, bringing up concerns they have immediately so that we can start to work through those and get systems in place that put our kids and our staff far out of harm's way as we can.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
You bet.
Director Stuffer.
Yes, thank you very much, Principal Hudson. Just 2 questions. Can you clarify on the Eureka and CKA staff? And then the next question is, in an event of a failed wellness test once a student arrives, what do you see as the procedures process? Because ultimately we want to get that student back to their home and to keep the distance as much as possible. And I really appreciate all the work that you and your staff have done over the summer, and then the email that Victoria sent out, very, very helpful. But if you could just help with understanding on those 2 items. Thank
Sure,
you.
I'll answer this. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Donna, I'll do this. You answer the first and I'll answer the second.
Okay, well, all my brain cells were thinking about the second. So Director Stoffer, can you re-ask the first, please?
Yeah.
Yes, CKA.
Yes.
I forgot what that meant. Or what
Now,
that
so CKLA is our English Language Arts curriculum, and Eureka is our math curricula. So both of those curricula have online components. And we made a decision early on that one of the things that we really needed to do correctly this year, as separate from the fall or the spring, was we really wanted our teachers teaching lessons. So we've worked very hard to have all of our instruction through Grey Wolf for Howler teachers. But there is a bank of videos from both our math and our ELA curricula that have always been available to us. And so it's the creators of Eureka and CKLA who record the lessons, kind of how-to lessons. And a lot of times we'll have our new teachers watch those lessons really to learn how to teach the curricula well. So at this point, at each grade level, they're looking at those resources at both CKLA and Eureka, and they're picking the parts that they think can best replace the lessons that our elementary teachers are teaching. And our teachers will continue to teach many of the lessons, but there will be times when grade level students or SWIM elementary students will watch videos taught by folks who work at Eureka and CKLA.
Great, thank you very much.
You bet.
Yes, very much appreciate your outreach to your families also.
You bet.
Director Stauffer, if there is a student or who comes to one of our buildings who has symptoms of COVID or symptoms that are specific to COVID, whether or not they will be isolated by our medical staff, and we will try to get a hold of Clallam County Health and or the parents. We cannot force anyone to get tested, and we would follow all the health and safety protocols that were part of what Victoria sent out. And if in fact there could be some contact tracing involved, then the Clallam County Health Department is involved in that. In fact, I got a phone call on Friday about one of our employees who is being contact traced as we speak. So that really would be out of the building administration, and it would be in our nursing staff and healthcare professionals bailiwick.
Thank you, Superintendent. That's good to hear.
Yep.
Okay, Director Jeffries.
Thank you. I really appreciate efforts not to burn out the teachers in this whole process. I know there's been some concern. I've heard more from the secondary level, but I think the elementary also, where it's double, triple duty trying to handle the AABB kids on their on and off cycle, the remote learning. And then we have families that are going to choose 100% remote, and how to balance all that work so that we can deliver robust curriculum, effective curriculum to our kids and not burn out our teachers. So I appreciate your efforts on trying to brainstorm ways to implement working smarter rather than working harder. And I appreciate that. How are we going to handle when a teacher gets sick and can't go online to teach for whatever reason? Substitutes, or do you have a plan where the principal steps in and teaches that class that day? How are we going to do that?
We were looking at retired teachers in the community. No, I'm teasing.
I was going to say, Director Jeffries, let's not get crazy here. You know, that's going to be something that has happened. Currently, we're covering those from within. So if we have, for instance, we had a situation where a fourth grade teacher needed to be out for an afternoon, another fourth grade teacher stepped in and taught those lessons. We're covering specialist time right now within our specialist pool. There will be a time that I'm sure we'll have to, as we start adding students back by grade level, there will be a time that we'll welcome guest teachers back into the building. But again, all of our grade levels have a plan to maintain online instruction themselves. Right now, I was talking to one of my teachers this morning, and she's taped math lessons. She's well into November. Teachers have been working very hard and very diligent because we understood that at some point students will come back. And so they've really worked hard to tape lessons ahead so that we have a little bit of a buffer. We don't want to ever be a day, just one day ahead of instruction for the students at home. And we want to clearly say that we respect the family's rights to be home. Families have the needs that they have, and our faculty, you know, we all are aware just everything that's at risk here. And so we're working very hard. We are not like the high school and middle school. We've never had online instruction. All of our instruction has been asynchronous, taped lesson. We both meet with our students in the morning. That looks a little different at both elementaries, but the minutes are in line with each other. And we're both doing the program that works for our building. And our buildings have a lot of similarities, but the elementaries are different buildings. And so we really have put a lot of time and effort into making sure that we have a great program online and in person when we start getting groups of kids back to school.
That sounds really good. You mentioned the two elementary schools are very similar, and I appreciate that. My impression is that there's a lot of strong teamwork in both elementary schools. How synced up are your schedules? I assume you share specialists back and forth. Maybe, I don't know that you share any teachers back and forth between the two elementary schools, but specialists back and forth, is that a problem?
We don't share specialists. Haller and Gray Wolf have different bell schedules, and our days are aligned differently. They're individual buildings, but Principal Stanton and I talk often. We try and keep more things similar in our buildings than are different. And that's something that both Dr. Clark and Assistant Superintendent Mon expect of us. And so that's really part of the plan, but they're very different buildings. They have their own personalities. They're established and set up differently, and they have different principals. So they're their own, each building is its own building, but we do try and keep a lot of elementary things common between the two buildings because we're one district.
Thank you.
You bet.
All right, looks like we got a couple more hands still. Director Koo?
Great, thank you. And Donna, thank you for the good info tonight. Candidly, you've already answered my questions, but as I've been listening to what you and Dr. Clark have shared, you know, I'm reminded of, you know, this being one of those times where as a board member, we need to trust the expertise of our hired staff and professionals, because I'm neither an epidemiologist or a education professional. So there's so much to this, and I recognize that, and I really appreciate all the hard work that's gone into this. I do feel incumbent, though, to give voice to two concerns that have been shared tonight, I think, both by Director Jeffries. One is, of course, giving that choice of families and students who choose to stay home and do all online. And that's for obvious reasons, and I doubt there's any pushback there. The other one, of course, is the more Gordian knot of a challenge of our teachers and their capacities and what we're asking of them. Not only just on a professional level, and that is important, but you know, I guess I'm also familiar enough with the nuances of, you know, the CBAs and what those require. So I just say that to state how important those things are to strike that right balance. I trust that you and the team have done that, and so I appreciate the good work. But please know that those are kind of chief and primary concerns outside of course, the safety of our staff and students. So thank you.
Director, you're welcome. And Director Koo, I really hear what you're saying. We started talking early this summer because we understood the burden it would put on our teaching staff. We meet with them, try and meet every week. We meet with our department chairs. I always find myself asking our staff, does this work for you? Are you comfortable with this? Bring me a plan that works for you in your grade level. So we really try and work at partnerships with our teachers because this pandemic will pass, but our staff will be here a long time, and we want to honor them as people. We want to honor the work they do. And I really want and need our staff to come out the other side of this pandemic, the people they were before. You know, you can only ask folks to do so much. We've tried to structure it so that our staff really has a say in the work they do, and they're part of the solution to when we come up to with problems or when we run into problems. And I certainly don't want to for a second say that we're not going to have stumbles or that things are going to go smoothly, but I know at the elementary level that our goal is what's good for kids. And I think we believe what's good for kids is to get them back into schools as quickly as we can. It's good for families. Our families have been warriors since March. 7 months of instructing kids at home and running schools out of, bedrooms and kitchens. And we can't thank them enough. But I think the overwhelming thought at the elementary is we'd love to have our kids back as long as we can do that in a safe way. That brings instruction back into the building and takes a lot of the pressure off of our families.
Yeah, well said. And if you'll allow me, I know you can't advocate for the upcoming bond passage, but I certainly can. And so to anyone listening to this meeting tonight, this is why it's absolutely critical that we do not turn our backs on our schools right now. There's more moving parts that we've discussed tonight, but we absolutely need the resources to keep our systems not only functional, but operating in a healthy way. Thank you.
Well, thank you again, Donna and Dr. Clark. So with that said, we've had quite a few questions. I don't know if there's any more, but before we do, there are any more questions, we need a motion on this this item for the evening.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve as presented.
Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion, Jeffries.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion, Director Pickens?
Yeah, I think I guess my questions are more geared probably towards Dr. Clark on this one, as opposed to my previous questions. So, I'm cautiously want to I think move forward with this. However, there's really 3 areas that I'm hoping that I can get a clear answer on prior to the vote. And the first one is just that obviously I know back in March there was a lot of building the plane like as we were flying it sort of thing, and that was completely understandable. But the first question is just that prior to October 26th that we'll have all safety measures and protocols in place just in accordance with the Department of Health and LNI that is specifically around the PPE that's needed with the new levels of low, medium, high, and extremely high transmission risk environments as required by LNI and the Department of Health. The second one is just that if we have already done this, or if we plan to before October 26th, just laid out a clear process to our staff of either notifying our safety committee or the COVID site supervisor about concerns or violations regarding health and safety protocols and what steps they need to take, as well as if for some reason the COVID site supervisor isn't following the health safety protocols, how if that's going to be communicated prior to this. And I guess the third assurance that I would like is just that all associations who are going to have their working conditions impacted by the return to in-person, if we plan on having agreement upon those safety protocols and workload concerns relating to that, whether it be an MOU or similar type document prior to October 26th.
To be clear, the answer to all your questions are yes. We have our MOU meeting scheduled, but know that this plan the changes of this plan are only reflective of November 2nd. They have not changed what was going to happen on October 26th. We were scheduled to have kindergarten back on October 26th. So
Right.
that does not change anything. What does change is that we have the first graders coming a week sooner than originally projected. So in answer to your questions, we're meeting with associations. We have our PPEs. We plan on having all of our ducks in a row.
Okay. Yeah, and I think the biggest difference, I guess, with the October 26th plan, or maybe the piece of information that didn't come out, is just that clear that the information released by LNI, but that they have these different transmission risk environments. So I think just that was the piece.
I think that was reflected in Victoria's email that was sent out.
Okay. Yeah, I just that's reassuring to hear, and I just, I think that this is, I the best place for our students to learn, I think, is in physically in the brick and mortar classroom. I just think we do it safely, and we're cautious, and we're just kind of take things very, very seriously. So I know sometimes as a first grade teacher, you sort of work as that filter. Sometimes you get kids that will come to you with symptoms, and if I sent a kid up to the office every time they said that they were sick in their normal circumstances, there'd probably be a line going out there, and you almost work as a filter. But I think we're in a different environment now, where we kind of have to be a lot more cautious with how we normally approach things if there are symptoms presenting himself, that sort of thing. So it weighs heavy on my mind. So I appreciate your reassurance on that, Dr. Clark.
Director Stoffer?
Actually, Larry was before me.
Okay, Director Jeffries.
Oh, thank you, Director Stoffer. I concur with all the questions and concerns that Eric brought up. Err on the side of caution is still I think the order of the day. From my point of view, I guess I'm a skeptical optimist. I know that's kind of a weird combination. I mean, I see the glass as half full, but I see the glass as only half full. And I think there's a lot we can do to make sure that we go slow and we do it right along the way. A couple other questions. I appreciate the change basically is the elementary, and that's what we've been talking about tonight. I noticed we talked about some high school, middle school, CTE, and AP students coming back. Is that more like a flipped classroom where they might come back for a lab or a hands-on activity that can only be done at school? Is that what's in the future?
Yes, that's correct. One of them is the auto shop class, where they would come in with a group of 6 or 8 students, socially distanced, mask up, and work on a car. They would be in cohort models, the same as with your description of the advanced placement students. There could also be some potential labs or remediation, but they would all be in small cohorts, no larger than 8 students, and they would follow social distancing guidelines and be masked up. And that's still a little ways down the road, and I will keep the board informed. We also want to continue to provide at the high school, and we're calling it an internet cafe, but there are many of our high school students who don't have connectivity, and as hard as Assistant Superintendent Mon and others, Bo Young, have worked at it, we're going to put some kids in the high school cafeteria so that they, excuse me, I misspoke, the high school library, so they can have connectivity to do their assignments. But they will be cohorted, they will be social distanced, and they will be masked.
The only other comment I have, the only reason we can do this is the community has really responded and kept our numbers down. and really appreciate that, especially given some of the trends that are going on in other communities in Washington and across the nation, where the first wave has continued or the second wave has come in. So I really appreciate the citizens of Clallam County have responded and kept our numbers so low that we have the option of actually doing this at this time.
I agree. I agree with you wholeheartedly, Director Jeffries.
Thank you.
Okay, now Director Stuffer.
Yes, thank you. My comment is along with the community and how it is truly a community responsibility. And I appreciate the community walking alongside us with this, because it is at times a daily challenge, and we continually need that community support and buy-in in our families. And we need our families to know that if their student isn't feeling good, they should not put him on the bus or drop him off. This starts at home also. And that's where I really appreciate the outreach from our elementary schools and the principals and staff. And so thank you very much. I saw a quote today out of the University of Arizona, because they seem to have the lead on all, and it says they've had no new cases. Prevention efforts involve a multi-million-dollar ballet of precision logistics, campus re-engineering, and unpredictable human behavior. Well, we don't have the multi-million dollars, but I'm confident that our staff and our families and our community are walking with us to get our students back inside the buildings. So thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone. And I know I haven't really spoke up yet. So before we take a vote, I appreciate the work on this from our elementary staff and leaders and Dr. Clark and Jennifer and all the staff in the district. The only thing I have to say is, and I know that working in the middle school and high school takes a lot of additional logistics and concerns there. And I understand that, we'll look at that as we move forward. I just would like to see that work a little quicker on a personal note and see how we can figure that out. So I just would appreciate some more conversation and communication within the leadership of those schools to determine some ways that we can get some more of our middle school and high school students back. I know there's some that are struggling out there that would like to, and families that are struggling out there as well. And, we're hearing some of that communication. I, as a high school student parent as well, and she's doing fine. The teachers are working well with her, but I see some struggles there as well. And so just encourage more communication towards that level as well. Okay. With that said, we have a motion and a second on the table. So all those in favor of the updated reopening timeline signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. All right. Lastly, we have our first reading of all those wonderful policies we went through at our policy workshop. So this is a first reading. Director Koo.
Yeah, sorry to be that guy.
Yeah.
Are we sure this is the first reading? It sounds correct, but just the workshop was a unique one, so that's only why I'm asking.
Yep, that's what the note says here from the boss. Tracy says, and as this is even though we had the workshop, the first official time we're seeing it at a board meeting. Therefore, it would be a real first reading.
Okay, thank you.
That is correct, because no board action can take place at a work session.
Yep.
So that's why this is the first reading.
Yep. Director Stoffer?
Yes, again, appreciate Tracy's work on this, and I just have two wording changes to that 1220 and 1225, because the Legislative Assembly has changed its name to General Assembly, and that vote occurred last November. And so we have this opportunity to bring that completely up to date. So if we could, anytime that it says Legislative Assembly, if that could be changed to General Assembly, I'd appreciate that.
All right, and I think you submitted that in that corrector, Director Stoffer?
That's correct.
Yeah, I saw the email. So yeah, and yeah, so Director Jeffries, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I really appreciated the workshop and the seriousness by which the board tackled their duties to take a look at these and get these policies and get them up to speed, up to date, and make sure they are as we thought they were. Really appreciate Tracy and all her hard work, and in the past, Jennifer Mon and all her work, and the team of people that have worked really hard at trying to get these policies renewed. I look forward to, for the public's information, we're going to go through all the policies this way on basically a monthly basis. And for me, it's really important. It's analogous to, I guess, the Constitution. This is how we run. This is the foundation by the laws by which we run the schools. So it's very important we get them right. So I really appreciate all the hard work and effort that's gone into this. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Koo, last word?
Yeah, I'd be remiss not to thank Tracy for the Herculean efforts here as well. So Tracy, thank you. One thing, and I'm going to start by saying this is not the right time, but since we're talking about it, just put it out there for the record, is the consideration at a future date of modifying from director districts to essentially, all positions being at large. I think there's a lot of merits there to consider. Dr. Clark has spoken about it before. Again, not the right time right now, but just putting it out there for the record.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead. Did you put your hand back up, Larry? Or
No, there's Director Pickens.
Okay, there we go. Okay. Director Pickens, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm seeing the asterisks next to ones, and I believe those are the ones with changes. Was there I just wanted to, did we make a change or clear up one of these that was specific to the legislative representative being elected? I just wanted clarity on if that one was one of the ones that we're going to change when we go to approve these.
I do have notes on that for when we have second reading on those.
Yep.
Okay, great, thank you.
That's one of those that I kind of harped on. What I can tell is the updated version has cleared up that confusion. Let's put it that way.
Yep.
And now the dates seem to be internally consistent.
Okay.
And then it's just the General Assembly, which I mentioned. So thank you.
Yeah. Yep. And we'll have further discussion on this on second reading. So I would just encourage everyone to take some time and reread back through these. And at our next meeting, when we have second reading, we can have further discussion. Okay. I think we reached the end. Number 12, for the good of the order. Thank you, everyone. It's been a good meeting. Thanks for the good conversation. Appreciate Principal Hudson chiming in on the elementary process. That was really helpful in hearing and learning about that and all the good work. It's just wonderful starting off our meeting this morning with the tribe and Loni and Theresa joining us. That was heartwarming and a great start to the meeting. And we've got our upcoming board meetings. And anybody else with anything for the good of the order? All right. Well, if we good. Nope.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right. With that said, call the meeting adjourned, and we will be adjourning into executive session. So again, guys, we'll leave this meeting, and then Tracy will send us an invite into a new meeting. Thank you, everyone. Have a good, pleasant evening.
Thank you.
Thank you to everybody. Thank you,
Thanks a
Donna.
lot.
Thank you, guys.